This is a special EMI tape recording, number 6 in a series, and we've designed it to show you some of the ways you can turn your recordings into proper programs on tape. A feature tape is a production, as opposed to a collection of odd items. It can have any subject, and it can be as long or as short as you like. Your only restriction is that you must keep up the listener's interest. You can use actors, music, sound effects, the lot. Or you can use only actuality, that is, real live interviews or sporting commentaries linked by announcements, or readings from history books, and so on. You'll find yourself using everything you've learned from the earlier EMIGUIDES: tape editing, microphone technique, outdoor recordings, and tape tricks. Always try to have a good opening to catch the listener's attention. Here's an example.
Fire. The story of a visit to Sherford Fire Station. Sherford Fire Station here.
Can you come to Grove Street at once? A house is on fire.
Right away, madam. We visited the fire station on Friday, the 6th of June, and were welcomed by the Chief Fire Officer.
Did you notice how fading the volume was used to enter and leave that opening scene? We call it cross-fading when one sound is faded down while the other is faded up. You need a mixer unit to do this properly, or some tape recorders have separate volume controls for each input, which amounts to the same thing. But you can get nearly the same effect by splicing the two fades close together, or just recording them one after the other. Don't forget you can assist fades by getting the actors to move towards or away from the microphone. Here's the familiar letter reading trick, in which the sender's voice is heard taking over from the person reading. We're using a single microphone, and instead of adjusting the volume control, just making the actors swap over positions as they read.
Dear Robert, I couldn't leave without letting you know something of my reasons
for going. While the police suspicions appear to have shifted to another quarter, my own doubts have continued to increase. So I'm doing the only thing possible. I'm going where they can't find me and ask me more questions
about your alibi. Don't follow me or try to write. Goodbye.
This moving and positioning of the voices and sound effects is your way of putting everything in a real sounding perspective. So don't stick to one distance. Decide where you want the microphone to be. For instance, in a scene where the bank clerk is called into the manager's office for an interview, is the listener assumed to be with the manager at his desk or with the clerk as he walks into the room? Once you've settled this basic question, you can space out the actors to fit the scene, with someone in the foreground, someone in the middle distance, and so on. Their movements, too, can be worked out to heighten the dramatic effect. Closely tied up with perspective and movement is the acoustic effect you get in different rooms, or even in different parts of the same room. You might have to record in the hall or out in the landing to get the echo effect of running feet, as we had in our opening fire station scene, or this reconstructed tour of an old castle.
Ascending the last few worn steps, you enter the once richly ornamented banqueting hall. The minstrel gallery is well preserved, and you can almost imagine the scene.
Don't be afraid to explore every room in the house to get the right acoustic effect. This is how you take the listener anywhere in imagination. And speak into a bucket or distort the sounds in any way that helps to get the effect you want. A distorted voice is needed, for example, for the far end of a telephone conversation. You heard this in the fire station scene. That was got by putting a condenser in the microphone lead to cut out the bass tones, as described in the leaflet. But you can improvise all sorts of things to distort voices. Here's the effect of holding a tumbler up to your mouth, which I'm doing now. Or you can fasten a paper cap over the microphone, or record through a real telephone using a telephone adapter. Of course, we've all heard how funny it is, or how annoying, when sound effects are overdone.
Care for a drink, Sir Percy?
Yes. Whiskey and soda, please.
Right. Say when.
When?
There. Down the hatch.
Charles.
So, use sound effects by all means. They're an important part of most feature tapes. But keep them in perspective with the voices. And don't use more effects than you really need, or you'll be in danger of slowing down the pace of your production. The same thing applies to music. Properly used, incidental music can make a frame round your program and link the sections together beautifully. And selecting just the right few bars, like collecting the right sound effects for your production, is one of the most enjoyable aspects of tape recording. But once again, overdoing the music is a sure way of annoying your listening audience. Well, as my own closing music starts, I wish you all the fun that this most adaptable, creative hobby can bring.